before, so please mute yourself. Yes, my pronouns are she and they. This is part of our we have different topics every week. This week we look at how the state and specifically how policing interacts with gender and sexuality. I myself, and then we have Mariela Saba, who's been with the coalition for 11, 12 years now, right? And yeah, they're gonna actually start it off. Welcome, Mariela.
Thank you, Chela. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good evening from wherever you are. And anyone who wanted to be here and can't be here, also want to send a shout out. My name is Mariela. My pronouns are she and they, and anything with respect feels good. This is our monthly gender and sexuality meeting related to how policing, how surveillance and policing intersect with our gender and sexuality. And we have these spaces so that we can talk about local things impacting our LGBTIQ fam community, and what can we do as a coalition to fight back. We also have meetings that are also more internal for us as a coalition to keep growing in our solidarity and our experiences fighting back gender and the attacks on our gender and sexuality from the state. So today we're gonna talk about the End Trans Detention campaign. That's one thing I wanna bring into the space. And I'm wondering, Chela, if you're gonna talk to us about an action that just happened this weekend at the We Spa here in Koreatown, actually where I'm at. So those are two topics that we want to cover, and I want to take the opportunity to in this session to invite more of you. If you want to get more involved, get engaged with this part of the work, it's important that more folks are lifting it. I was reflecting that both Chela and I talked about feeling tired and needing to rest, and I think that's something that we want to name and is important. Rest in our movements, rest for all the moments that we don't get to rest. And that's really important to be healthier participants in our movement. So I just want to share that and invite you, if you want to be more engaged and step into some organizing with us. That's what this space is also about. So I just want to invite a couple breaths just to get us grounded, and just in gratitude that we're alive and we're here. So from wherever you are, if you want to just get a little bit more comfortable and settle into your body. It is the evening time. I know there is a lot going on in our lives globally, and it impacts us in different ways. So if we could just take a moment to ground and feel how we're doing, what we're doing, that'd be cool. If we could do that, I just want to invite you for it. So if we could just take a nice deeper breath than the ones you've been taking maybe throughout the day, just a more conscious breath to notice we're alive in here. I want to invite us to do that together at the count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. And this can be an opportunity to release anything that's ready to be out of your body, of your system, and also invite what you want and what you need in this moment for strength, for calm, for clarity, for anything that, for it, whatever you might be needing. So take a deep breath with what you need and exhale what's ready to go. 1, 2, and 3. And I encourage that throughout the evening as a medicine we have access to here. Just breath work for yourself. and for each other. I would love to see who out there is open to saying hello and checking in. We like to also start with a brief check-in. So if you're open to it, what brings you here would be great to hear. That way we know who's in the space, and we can build trust in that way before we get into some of our topics. Also open to hearing suggestions for any conversations that you would also like to help hold in this space too. So if you want to share that, your name, pronouns, anything that you want to share about how you're doing, but especially what brings you here this evening, so we could get to know each other a bit more. So I could start us off briefly. Again, my name is Mariela Saba. She and they pronouns are good with me, and I'm happy that I joined. I was feeling tired to hold space, but I didn't want to leave Chella alone in that. So I was just reflecting on that in a situation like this when two of us are feeling tired, just how to step in so the weight is lighter together and take some steps to recruit more folks to hold this so we can take care of each other. So that's what I'm reflecting on and thinking about. And I won't get tired of naming the need for rest in movements. Just wanted to emphasize that tonight. And what brings me here? Everything, everything brings me here. I chose to be here. This is where I'm meant to be. I'm a mom of two kids, and that is part of my 24/7 work and angle to justice right now. That's how I'm looking at the world. Um, as I raise babies, I want to prevent a lot of harm, and prepare them for the context that they have to fight and have joy in. I'm here for us to have more joy in our lives now and prevent more murders from the state from all angles. That's what brings me here tonight. Thank you. And I will pass it to my co-host and facilitator, Chela, if you'd like to share next. You are right next to me on this screen.
Thank you, Mariela. I'm going to let folks know that I actually live in Skid Row. That's how I got involved with both Stop LAPD Spying and LA Can, which houses Stop LAPD Spying. So my pronouns are she and they. I've been fighting for liberation for the last 15 years, started with racial justice and then started with and then kind of swerved into class justice, and then realized you have to add gender and as well as like status and other things like disability justice and all those things. I loved what you said, Mariela, around like what bring you into the work. That's what bring me into the work. I'm tired of seeing Black people die by the hands of the state, and they die in multiple ways. They die through inadequate healthcare. They die through the prison industrial complex. They die through the policing. Trans Black women died through misogynoir. Trans misogynoir Black women that are cis die from misogynoir. Brown people die from the same things too, right? Especially indigenous communities. So yeah, yeah. I think we can't do one without the other, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I do this work. Um, I am cleaning my apartment while I am on here because my reward is to be able to drink tonight. Real talk, till it's real. So yeah, and I will pick someone else to go. And you can say your name, your pronoun, and what brings you here. I will pick Susan.
Hi, Chella. It's good to be with all of you guys. And you're right, Mariella and Chella, both. We have to raise consciousness and try to save people that don't have a voice and don't have the opportunity to be with folks like you to learn and to organize and work against injustice and oppression in the world. Thank you.
Anyone else want to go next?
I can go next. Hi,
Right.
everyone. My name is Jessica Melendez. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And what brings me here is just my commitment to learning and growing and also being in community. This pandemic, I think, has shaken us a little bit, and it's really hard to still stay in community. So that and just continuing my effort to like organize and like learn more and also fight, this endless fight for freedom. And so it's a long journey, but I think it's important to stay committed and also take care of ourselves in the process. So I'm here to learn more in both community, and I'm happy to be here. And I'll kick it off to whoever wants to go next.
Thank you, Jessica. I also like it for it to go to whoever wants to go next. But if it's okay, I'll call a name, and if you don't feel like going, you can pass. Just to keep it going together. So I'm gonna invite Raya. Let us know if you'd like to say hello and check in or pass. Pass, sweet, thank you. Thanks for using the chat, folks. Pam, would you like to share next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Pam. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an organizer with Gabriella Los Angeles with Jill, who's my kasama. And we, we're part of Buy-in USA. And so through that, work with Stop LAPD Spying. And I'm here specifically because Gabriella works with women, the LGBTQ community and gender nonconforming folks, and that's a specific focus of ours, and that really sort of, this topic very much intersects with our work. And Jill, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. As Pam mentioned, we're part of Gabriella. It's a progressive Filipino women's group with chapters across the world. We have our sister chapter in the Philippines. And I'm here to just kind of see how we can link our struggles together. I unfortunately I'm not able to stay for the entire duration, but happy to be in community with you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam and Jill, for joining. Happy to connect. This is a good space to share our work and build together. And maybe Steve or Hamid.
Hey everybody, my name is Hamid, go by he, him, and greetings. I'm also with the Stop LAPD, hello. I'm also with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. And I'm here because just gotta keep this conversation going, our effort going, the organizing going, it's not just how many folks, it's just like, how are we building together? And yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you for facilitating, Jella and Mariella. And I will pass it on to Steve.
Did you say Steve? Yeah. Hi, I'm Steve.
Yes.
He, him. I'm involved with NLGLO program and a strong enthusiast of Stop LAPD Spying. You're one of the few places of hope I see out there. Thanks for your continued work. I'll leave.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us this evening. I want to check in. Chela and I spoke earlier today and brought up the topic of an incident of transphobia that happened in the Wee spot, and we thought we could create some space to learn about what happened and what was some of the aftermath of that. I was out of town when all this happened, but I read an article about it, and Chela was at an action this weekend with other folks. If we thought it was a relevant conversation to our space, and it's something happening here locally. And I feel like a lot of things happen in the aftermath too that are important to talk about related to white supremacy too. That's a little bit of what I also caught. So I don't know too much, and that's why I want to make some space here to get informed and hear about community response and what does this mean for our fight. And then we'll get into a little bit of the End Trans Detention campaign. And I'm happy to make space for folks from Gabriela and anybody else who wants to share their work and wants to connect and see how we could just build power together. Off to Carla, and just remind that, thank you, Steve, I got you. Thanks for that. So we could hear each other. Chela, would you like to, how's your energy? How are you feeling about sharing?
I thought you should go first since you're leaving earlier. You could
Okay.
talk about in trans detention first.
All
Since
right.
you're ending earlier, it kind of makes more sense. Yeah.
That-
I mean,
that's
unless you feel like you are staying, then we could. But I want folks to be able to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Chela. I will accept that. My babies have about an hour limit when I'm on the computer or phone, and they'll start joining, and I'm happy for them to join us, but I appreciate when they can join us, especially in person and not too much just on the computer. So thank you for the space. Hopefully some of you have heard of the End Trans Detention campaign that various organizations and individuals have been moving for several years, but relaunched this year in hopes that we will win. And I am a co-founder of Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement, and we are one of the organizations of over 20 orgs that have gotten together across what Native folks call Turtle Island and quote unquote United States. This is a part of a movement to abolish detention and detention centers, and this is a strategy, a campaign that we feel can be one in the direction, in the journey towards abolition. So I just want to recap. I was trying to see if I could access a recap video online here. I sent it to Chela through text, but I don't know. It might take me a little bit longer to access it online. But it is on Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement's Instagram. So I just need to get access to that. And I don't have Instagram personally, folks, so it's harder for me to access it. So I just want to put that information in the chat. And I want to also put the hashtag End Trans Detention is another way for you to see actions from many cities and many different orgs and individuals who participated. Folks held actions, especially during the month of June, Pride Month, as a way of reminding that there is no pride in detention. That was one of the statements or slogans, no hay orgullo en detención. And some of the stories that were being centered and uplifted were the stories of Victoria Arellano, Roxana Hernandez, and Joanna Medina. These are 3 migrant trans women who died in ICE custody from willful negligence, all related to their health. And of course, any form of incarceration and putting people in cages impacts our folks' mental health, physical health. But this is willful negligence when folks are asking for medical attention and ICE refuses to attend folks, and people die. So these actions from various cities, starting off in Phoenix, Arizona, and San Francisco, and many more. Maybe I can pull up a list for you all to get a sense of how many different cities, but what I want to share is that it culminated in Washington, D.C., where folks held a ceremony and space for the 3 trans mujeres whose lives we were honoring and lives were lost. And coffins were created. My baby's coming. And left at the footsteps, at the doorsteps of the White House, as a symbol of accountability, as a symbol of this is in the state's hands. These are murders by the state. There is pressure being put on the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, quote unquote, and that is Alejandro Mayorkas. There is a petition for that. It's a way to get involved. It's not the only way to move or the only action. That's why all of these, there were a lot of folks who moved, had actions in front of detention centers, and I believe in that those direct actions will have an impact. And the campaign is in a moment right now too of, just reflecting on a whole month of actions and recalibrating to see what's the next step in pressure. But I do have a simple petition here to drop in the chat box that you and your organizations could also. Oh, I see, Hamid, you found the video. I think that's the one. It's a recent video. It was just released July 23rd. It has a recap of the cities that I mentioned. I'm gonna put the petition. I just sent it to you, Hamid. Let me send the petition to everyone. There's always more to do than petitions, but it is.
Is this it, Mariela?
I think that's a longer video. And I'm not sure what day or year that is, if that's a recent one.
That is, I believe, July 22nd, and then there's also, yeah, I know these are other ones.
I'm open to you playing it and seeing.
Okay.
It might be a video of the Washington, D.C. action. That's what it looks like. We could watch a little, maybe a minute.
let me quickly fix the sound in this thing. Share sound. Okay. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if we can. Oops.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Jennifer Gutiérrez, organizadora con familia. Estamos aquí en Washington, D.C., en Casa Ruby, con la presencia de la directora y fundadora de Casa Ruby. Un placer, Ruby, de que nos tengas aquí del apoyo. Tania Jiménez, Tania Córdoba, sí. Aquí en comunidad, conectando con las chicas que apoyan a Casa Ruby, para recordarles que mañana tenemos la marcha nacional de fin a las detenciones trans, donde le estamos exigiendo a la administración Biden, al secretario Mayorkas, que es el encargado del Departamento de Seguridad Nacional, que ponga un alto a las deportaciones, que dejen en libertad a personas trans, personas viviendo con VIH o una condición médica. Entonces aquí estamos, mañana a las 12 del mediodía empieza la procesión, velorio, recordatorio también de nuestras hermanas. Y gracias, Ruby, por este apoyo. Sí, que han fallecido. Gracias.
Esta es una acción que de verdad necesita de la atención de nuestra comunidad LGBT, ¿verdad? Que a pesar de que ya no estamos en centros de detenciones, ya pasamos a otro nivel donde no estamos luchando por nuestras vidas. Sí sabemos lo que es estar en un centro de detención, el tener un caso de inmigración. Son todas las personas que están escuchando estos mensajes mañana a las 12 en la iglesia cristiana de Logan Circle, el edificio grande, frente al Washington Plaza Hotel. Mañana a las 12 va a haber un servicio para recordar a las chicas que murieron dentro de unos centros de detención. Así es que ya saben, todas las personas del área metropolitana de Washington DC, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, en Baltimore, se les espera mañana a las 12. Recuerden que nada más tenemos que invertir un poco de tiempo. El día de mañana ya vimos cómo cambian las cosas. Tenemos que apoyar, porque el día de hoy, mientras nosotros y nosotros estamos disfrutando de la libertad de no estar en un centro de detención, hay cientos o miles, porque ni siquiera nos dicen cuántas personas están en estos centros de detención, y tenemos que salir a demostrarnos contra eso encarcelamiento. Así es que ya saben, les damos la bienvenida y las gracias porque han mantenido este tema tan importante vivo, ¿verdad? Por todos estos años. Ellas han luchado y siguen luchando para que esto para que esto se detenga. Estamos en unos momentos donde no podemos vivir en un privilegio, donde podemos tomar tiempo para ir a una discoteca, para ir a un festival, podemos ir a ponernos borrachos. También tenemos, yo siempre se los digo, también tenemos tiempo para tomar 1 o 2 horas de un día para estar en solidaridad con las personas trans que están en un centro de detención, que siempre hemos dicho en este país.
Thank you for bringing her voice in. Thank you for bringing their voices in.
I think I may have a minute 29 second. Is that the one that you were? Yes, I'm gonna play it. Give me 1 second.
Great, and then I'll translate for folks what we were hearing.
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay, so there is this 1 second. Optimize for video clip, share.
Thank you, Hamid. Um, it's a recap of the various mobilizations
Oops.
that happen. And I think right now it's just accessible on Instagram. It just came out, just so you have a sense. But it was basically what I was sharing with you all. This happened during the month of June, and I just want to translate some points that the director of Casa Ruby, which is an organization and home that helps house folks who are trans and queer coming out from detention over in Washington, D.C. Part of their testimony and emphasis was that she was referring to herself and other trans and queer folks who have been in detention, and just calling in folks, the struggle continues post incarceration, but with that liberty comes the privilege to also get engaged in organizing. And so she was just calling in the video was promoting the action in Washington, D.C., which was the following day at that point. And yeah, and moving folks to, just as we spend time, if you can go to a quote unquote parade for Pride Month, you need to go to an action, is what she was sharing. And she was also lifting up the chicas, the mujeres, the trans women who were murdered by ICE. And that was it. So I'm happy to plug in Casa Ruby. That's another great org to support in this work. And I will just end with a few quotes if I can. 'Cause, I also want to name that the campaign is being co-led by, on a national level, by the Black LGBTQIA Project and the Transgender Law Center, as well as Mi Gente. And I also want to see if I can. I hope I didn't lose it. I had
Sorry, I put the petition on the screen so folks can take a look at that.
Great, thank you. Let me see if I can find. There's a lot of other orgs that you can actually find on the ntransdetention.org that held all the many actions. So it's a good way to find other orgs doing similar work and support, or if you know folks in different places. So that's like Mariposas Sin Fronteras in Arizona, Q Latinx in Florida, Community Estrella in Georgia, Trans Queer Pueblo also in Arizona, and a whole lot of other folks that it's good to take some time to get to know. I just wanted to name some folks. And if there's any questions at this moment, I'm open to any questions. I was trying to find some quotes from people who were in ICE custody. I think those are the voices too, just like the director of Casa Ruby. Just want to lift up the folks who have experienced incarceration and are helping lead this movement. And another important point is that the campaign is focusing on folks who are living with HIV and demanding their immediate release, as well as other folks who are experiencing any kind of medical conditions, and trans folks too. So that is one of the strategies. And I know that over 30 Congress folks signed on to this campaign last month. I'm not sure what the latest update is. I'll probably have one later this week, but it's moving, and ICE is supposed to release some letter, some memorandum soon about quote unquote vulnerable populations and their release. So it's the footwork on the ground that's shaking the state and making these helping, that makes anything happen, that's moving folks. The pressure is on, and feel free to join the campaign or reach me personally. I could put my email as well, or just stay connected with the coalition, and we'll try to give updates about this campaign regularly. And the work doesn't end when we win. This is a journey to end all detention and all incarceration, whether it's from ICE or prison state, etc. So just thank you all for your time and attention.
Mariela, before you quickly leave, I just had a question. It came up, and this is actually for both you and Chela. At last week, we were at an action, and somebody had been on the webinar that Chela had facilitated on the changing laws or the laws that they're using to criminalize trans youth in different states. And this came out of a conversation around the See Something, Say Something surveillance and data collection. So there were two questions. One was that if we had heard something from other parts of the country that information sharing was being used and surveillance was being used to further criminalize the youth, or even, so if you all have any update on that, or have spoke to any of the organizers or impacted folks out there in Arkansas or some of the other places.
Yeah, I think we're due for a check-in with our a comrade from Arkansas who we hosted in one of the webinars, because I know there were moves recently in Arkansas, and I don't want to miss this one, so I have to. I was reading. I would have to reference it to just make sure I can give the right update. But in terms of the See Something, Say Something, yes, indeed, some of the laws that are coming out want to criminalize any medical staff that is to perform any affirming surgery, as well as their parents of trans and queer youth who want to, affirm their lives, and to affirm our lives, sometimes we need to make we need to access medical care to access different surgeries or hormones, etc., that can affirm who we are. So that some of these laws are trying to criminalize the parents of the young folks, as well as any medical doctors or surgeons or folks who would be helping or participating in that process, in that young person's transition. So that for me is feels like related to our work on the police state and surveillance and criminalization, because in some of those proposed laws are up to 10 years of incarceration. It reminds me a lot about abortion type laws and criminalizing folks for our choices and whatever we want to do with our bodies. I think we can have another conversation or session to get some updates on this. This is an ongoing fight, and I was reading it's like over 100 or 200 different laws that have come out just in this year that are moving or being stopped. It's a lot to keep up with, but always there's folks on the ground everywhere, trying to fight. And these spaces are for us to connect and do whatever's in our hands to do from here. I don't know if you have any updates, Chela, and I can look up I did see an update on Arkansas. I just want to check on it. But if you have anything to add, Chela, or anyone else participating.
I actually don't. I actually have been in contact with Rumba, but there has not been anything new as far as I know. Um, yeah, so no, I have no new news on that.
I found the reference that I got. This is an article that just came out August 1st on Sunday. For Arkansas, this article is by the National Pulse, and it's states the title is States Drive a Wave of Bills Affecting Transgender Youth. I could just put the article too for reference here on the chat too, but I so it has some updates on different states, and for Arkansas, it says that in April, Arkansas passed the Save Adolescents from Experimentation Act. Under the law, transgender minors cannot receive hormone treatments or gender transition related surgeries. The state's Republican governor, Asa Hutchinson, vetoed the measure in April, calling it too extreme, and said it puts a very vulnerable population in a more difficult position. But the Arkansas legislature overrode his veto, and yeah, it goes on, folks. I'm gonna put the fight is on, and on July 21st, a federal judge put a temporary hold on the law in Arkansas, which was set to go into effect the following week. And a U.S. district judge also put a hold on a West Virginia law that would ban trans athletes in women's sports. That's the other type of attack that is happening through the sports world. So I'll just put this article, it was the latest one that I could find today. So yeah, and it had some updates on Arkansas. And from reading it, there's a fight, you know, it's a big fight going on back and forth. And it has a major impact on folks whose lives are on the line, whose lives are under attack. If anyone else wants to comment or has any questions, feel free, and we need to definitely keep holding space around this. It's a lot of laws to keep track of, a lot of attacks. Chela, how do you feel about taking it to some updates on the fight here locally from the weak spot?
I'm down.
Yeah,
well, that was a lot.
That was a lot. So if you want to take a breath, y'all, this is always heavy stuff, but being together, hopefully supportive. Yeah, I want to pass it to you. I don't know what happened, you know, and you were at an action, so you have some first-hand experience, and I really value your perspective and your experience. So yeah, whatever feels good to share, Chela. This is your space too, your space especially.
So for folks who don't know, We Spot is this spot in K-Town. It's on the border of K-Town and MacArthur Park area. It's like on Rampart and Wilshire. It's a place where a lot of folks go, all different types of folks. This woman, the cisgender woman, decided it would be funny to go around saying that there was a trans person in there and that she did not feel comfortable because of it. And she posted this on some kind of social media platform. And she was like, this is really important. This is like why our like children are ending up like boys think they're girls think they're boys kind of shit. And well, the right wingers got a hold of that and started protesting outside in support of this femme who did this, even though there was actually not a trans person in there. And so a lot of the We Spot workers and the We Spot staff, they're supportive of trans folks. So they, I guess they got the word out and trans folks started showing up in opposition of these right wingers. A lot of the right wingers were what's known as Proud Boys. Y'all don't know who Proud Boys are. They're like white Republican, usually white. There's a lot, like in Miami, there's a lot of brown, actually, believe it or not. But usually they're white. They are about defending the patriarchy and defending the white supremacist state. And so there's been a lot of protests. The most dangerous protests happened at the beginning of it, where 2 trans people were stabbed. And then a week after that, a medic was injured by the police, right? A medic, right? So like we just think about that, y'all. Like police literally saw a medic of this group, of our group, and was like, we're gonna shoot them with rubber bullets, of course. The sad thing is they did like a fucking they did a press thing like 2 days after this, where I'm like, I didn't watch it, so I was like, whatever. So I wanted to do a protest because I had been out of the loop because of just being not here. For folks who don't know, I was in the Bay, wasn't able to be here, so I decided to come back. I was coming back, and I decided to do a show with my band there, and we did. And to be honest, the only opposition that were there were the pigs. They were like, they literally blocked off the whole street after Rampart, so people could not even get into the Wee Spa. So we just performed on the other side. Yeah, it was intense. I'm not gonna lie. The sad thing is we got threatened. We had we did a flyer, and in our flyer we named who we were and like what we were gonna do. And then next thing you know, I don't know how these right wingers got it, but these right wingers said, "Oh, Antifa." They called us Antifa. Antifa once more, and and I was like, okay, whatever, So like we made a mass call for folks to come out. Folks did show up. It wasn't a lot of people, and it's just being real. There's plenty of reasons why that is. It's like the danger level was real. The heat was real. But we ended up doing it and staying from like 9:30 to 2 because of some technical difficulties and things happening. We ended at 2 right on the dot, which was great. And we left. There was no opposition besides the pigs being there. Yeah, shit's been popping off with, right wingers and trans people lately. Yeah, I think that's it. Do anybody have any questions? Any questions about what I named, what I said? I do want to acknowledge that people were arrested. Both, not the last time we did a protest, but the other 2 times people from our side were arrested. None of the Proud Boys were arrested, so that lets you know who the police were siding with, right? Yeah, it's fucked up in so many ways.
Thank you, Chela, for.
Hi, little one. Hi, Janelle.
So Ali and Janelle is right here.
Got the back Hi, everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Oh. No, espérate, sister.
Okay, let's come here.
Okay, I would take over. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Chella, it takes a lot of courage to be out there, and I have to give it to you for that, because we have to be aware that you are really putting your life on the line just to by your right to go out and peacefully protest. And because our police forces are becoming so militarized and infiltrated with far right, extreme right, religious, whatever, you know, what I'm trying to say, Christian right wing religious fanatics. And also, it's been militarized by the military returning from war. And they have been taught to kill and joining police forces. And like you were saying, the Proud Boys just on their own, just out to kill, you know. And if they can't kill, the police now, with so much attention on them, they want to incarcerate you and kill you in prison. I just wanted to say that it takes courage, and I just, you know, I just have to lift you up for that, Chella.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, to be quite honest, when I saw the threat, like when I thought of doing it, I just thought of doing it just to be like, fuck the motherfuckers, you know what, I'm trying to keep it real. I don't give a fuck. But then I thought of like in my band, I have a younger person in my band. I have a young, like they are 22 now, and like I don't want them any harm to come to them. They're like my siblings, they're like my younger sibling. And so like to be real, we had a real conversation around like what does it mean? Like what does it mean for us to actually show up? Number one, as Black people, because me and my bassist are Black, and then number two, as trans people, because me and my bassist and my drummer are all trans, visibly trans. And so what does that look like for us to like put our bodies on the line? And do we trust the police? No. So who do we trust in our circles? That's why we reached out to like folks like DSA members. Let's be real. Reached out to DSA. Reached out to a few folks in Black Bloc or Black. I don't know how to pronounce their thing. They do a lot around BLM. And some folks within other movements, right? That I just have plugs with. And we were like, yeah, as long as we make sure that we ourselves can get out, fuck the instruments, but we want to get out ourselves safely. Which, I mean, to be real, like I said, nothing happened, which is like super crazy. There was a moment where everybody, I guess, like something did happen and a lot of people went somewhere. And then they came back and I found out it was like somebody was getting hassled by not even a Proud Boy, but by a community member, which is another conversation, right? Y'all, whenever I do these like takeovers, I am not absent-minded. I am like, my goal is to take up space. It's to be like, I don't believe in visibility for Black people. Y'all see us, we here. I don't believe in visibility for Black trans people or Black fat trans people. I am here, y'all. I got yellow, blue. Right now I have yellow, blue, and brown hair. Y'all cannot miss me. It's the fact that I'm gonna take space and I'm gonna declare that this space is gonna be safe, at least for the next 2 hours for trans people walking by. And that's why, that's why I do these things. I'm not absent-minded. Some shit happened 6 months ago around there where a brown trans woman got stabbed. She didn't get murdered, but she got stabbed. Like, we can't be everywhere. So like, I think around that too. I think about safety and community resistance. And how do we like what tactics that we need to start using against the state? Because though it might be community, it's still state violence. It's still enacted state violence, right? Proud Boys are there because the state is allowing them to be there. Literally, the state is allowing Proud Boys to be there. There's that video, I don't know, remember when the like right-wingers stormed the Capitol? A lot of Black folks started making fun of that because like, they're like, oh, what you doing? You want to come in? Oh, because that's how it was. But if it was a group of Black and brown people, especially Muslim or Black, brown, trans people, we would have been murdered on sight. we would have been shot on site. We would have been, you know, all that stuff. I'm sorry I'm saying all this stuff. It's just real. It's reality. Yeah, does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes, it's very real, and it's getting more real. And if not for people like you that are making people aware of it, and creating a conscious effort to organize against it and protest against this, we will be lost. I mean, we have to continue this fight. It is very real, and it's getting much, much worse.
Thank you, Susan and Chela. Thank you too. I echo Susan and want to uplift you and your band and everyone who's been showing up like that. And I'm winding down right now because babies do want to sleep. And my curiosity is around any next steps, support, and as a coalition too, I feel like our duty is also related to safety and how we create safety in this very real context that you and Susan are both naming. That's where my curiosity is around any support or next steps, and what does it mean for our coalition to fight back and create safety in this context. Yeah.
I think maybe one of the things, obviously, for the coalition to support the petition and just to move that for the entrance detention, but also once you all have checked in with folks in Arkansas, I'm just wondering how can we provide some support or share some of the ways that we've been able to do some community-based research, that how are now with these laws passing, what are the various angles that information could be shared that could cause, make the youth more vulnerable and cause more harm to them. So for example, between their healthcare, providers, between their schools or educational institutions, and various other day-to-day type things. So yeah, that could be something. And we save the information for the Gabriella folks.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I know in Ohio specifically, there was a bill that has been passed, I think, where any healthcare provider can deny someone, not just youth, but anyone that is trans or queer, right? That's that just boggles my mind. I don't know. But it just it's fucked up. And it's like I liked when Rambo was here and they were breaking down who actually owns what, or who actually is behind which laws in Arkansas. And they're like, a Walmart has a big hand in this. There's this other group of this other coalition of white men, of Republicans that they have a stake in this. And I remember hearing that and being like, wow, fuck that shit. Fuck it.
Yeah, stay tuned for more updates. We can have other sessions with updates on this too. I'm gonna have to go for now and just want to say thank you to all of you and the other folks from Gabriella who were with us. And thank you especially Chela for the action and what you shared. And Susan for sharing as well. And everyone for participating. I'll see you all next month. Or
Bye, Mariela.
Bye. Thank you.
Anyone else have any more questions that me and Hamid can answer? going once.
Yeah, I don't think that this is just a gender problem. Just it's happening to all women. There's just it's an epidemic of abuse and control. It's just sweeping the nation, and I don't know what to call it, but I see it in the news you could see it popping up. It's just worse than it ever has been. I mean, I don't have any statistics on it, but am I really seeing what's happening, that the United States is just going down the tubes with more abuse of women and transgendered and gender and sexuality is just under attack.
Under white supremacy and patriarchy, it's always been under attack, right? Literally, I was talking to a person who's studying, who just became a lawyer, and I forgot what we were talking about, but they literally told me that in the 40s, there's this like group of white men. They're white, cisgender, straight men, and they decide what laws get to be adapted into their law books, right? They literally in the 40s and 50s, because the person I was talking about, we were talking about sex work, and I do believe in decriminalizing sex work. I think under capitalism, every job is coercive. We all use our bodies for capitalism. Real talk. Now, getting back to my point, for the definition of prostitution was not a woman selling her body for sex. It was a woman being with other women after a certain hour, even just for enjoyment. That's what prostitution was. And they were like saying things like, oh, because that can rub off on the good women or the good people of the land. Like that should have it's just, men have always, patriarchy and white supremacy have always wanted to own bodies, especially women of color. And if you're falling outside of those things, it's just so gross. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, Susan. It's fuck patriarchy, fuck misogyny. It's all about ownership of women's bodies. And that's what it is. Like literally, that's why we're still fighting in some states, pro-life vote laws. You know what I mean? And it's funny because the same people that vote for these pro-life laws are the same people that are voting for these laws to like stop LGBT from getting hospital care. It's like, okay, so you want your child to be a Christian white person. That's what it is. What's up? You want us to be a bunch of nationalists. That's what it is. And anyone that doesn't fall into that line, that's Antifa. I'm sorry, am I the only one that's seeing that? Baba, do you want to take over for a minute? I go take up the trash real quick.
No, you're not the only one that's seeing it. What you're saying is exactly right. And I think we're slipping back to a bygone era. This is like pre-Civil War, the way it is becoming now and the way women are becoming more and more oppressed. I don't care if you're trans woman or any kind of woman, you know what I mean? Cis woman, all women. Are being just slipping back into a bygone era of oppression and second-class citizenship. And now, they're taking the vote. And so only certain people that are going to vote for extreme right-wing issues, neocons, are going to even be able to have a vote at this point. And the next elections are going to be turmoil.
Yes. We're facing a lot of stuff that the gains that were made over the last 30, 40 years, how they have been slowly. And I think it was very clear as well. I'm thinking back even just right after the civil rights movement, in the late 60s, and just the immediate rise of Nixon's war on crime. So obviously, which community were they going to go after, and then moving into the war on drugs, and in that, the whole demonization of Black women, which would then be like just moving into all other, the assault on women as well. And then in a very systemic way, it started like the crack moms, and then generations on welfare and the welfare queen, and just on and on and on, how these labels have a long history, at least over the last 50, 60 years, that have been used very methodically to criminalize women and then to declare war. And so yeah, I mean, the country was founded in a very white, misogynist, patriarchal frame to begin with. I mean, even the phrase founding fathers, I mean, who were all, slaveholders and misogynists and rapists, and so we're seeing that continuation of that. I think maybe one thing I just want to throw in there is that it's always been there, but we're also knowing more because of how communication systems and the way we communicate with each other, and the fast pace that we communicate with each other has also changed as well. So where we may not hear news about violence against women or assault against women, or just how assault is happening against queer, trans folks and all of that, but at least now even some of the more obscure places, like just we are finding out at the speed of however fast a tweet or an email, or so I think there's also the question being that there's an opportunity here as well, that we are able to communicate with other folks too and learn from each other, like that it's not just about survival, but it's also about fighting back, and how are folks really organizing under such extreme conditions. So yeah, I don't know if Jessica or Steve or others have any comments.
Yeah, it just makes me think, like, even because going back to just what happened at WeSpa, and how, Chela, you mentioned, it was a cisgender woman who said that they felt uncomfortable, basically lied, right? Because there was no trans woman at the spa during that time, but how she kind of like sounded the alarm. And it makes me wonder how even as cis women, we tend to uphold the patriarchy, and that's unacceptable, right? And it makes me fear about like this new generation of like young people who are slowly but surely finding their voice, and finding the freedom and the comfortability and the safety to come out and say that they're trans or that they're queer. And so it makes me fear that there's so much more work that we need to do, and a lot more work that we need to do as allies, to kind of like dismantle this patriarchy that we uphold even in our day-to-day interactions. And that in and of itself can be violence towards trans folks as well. I don't know, it's just a lot. I'm just like, oh, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, I don't know the ethnicity of the woman who did it, but it reminds me of a Karen, right? It reminds me of a Karen that looks at like a group of Black people or a group of brown people and is threatened, right? Because that's what it is. Like when transphobia is not just a hate, it literally is, you're threatened. You are threatened by something that you are seeing because we are daring to live outside of what you've been taught. So literally, so I think around when like this woman was doing this, and like I said, I had just heard about it when I got back. I was like, wow, a woman literally lied just so she could get some clout. She used transphobia to get clout. That is, that boggles my mind, And it's like, okay, well then, you're the one that's seeming literally. I like what you said around like this generation, because this generation, the generations that are after, like in the ones that are growing up right now, A lot of them are being a little bit more trans and queer friendly. A lot of them are being a little bit more, depending on where you're at. I do want to say like some kids are, but like I do think around like I remember in 2000, I want to say 16, 15, there was something at a high school or a middle school where like some parents were upset because they were going to build a gender neutral restroom for trans folks and like for GNC folks. And like, this little student gets on the TV, the news, and he's like, I don't get why parents are so upset. If a boy wants to be a girl, let him. If a girl wants to be a boy, let her. Like, it's none of your business, like, and I was like, yes, little one. And that came out of his mouth. He had to be like 10 or 11, you know? But yeah, I yeah, I just, yeah, I wonder though, with these laws, how, I wonder what these laws, how will it impact? Because like, I'm sorry, but when I heard about the thing in Ohio, I just couldn't. I was like, what? Like literally, if I go there, I could be discriminated against just because I'm trans and queer, and I'm visibly trans. That's fucked up. That is fucked. Anyone else wanna?
And you can be discriminated against because you are a woman. Okay, like if that's not enough.
Real talk. No, real talk. That's real talk, man. Real talk. Misogyny, yes. I've experienced misogyny on so many levels. Ugh. Ugh. But it's like because Kimberly Crenshaw came up with the term intersectionality, right? Like, so it's that, right? It's for me, it's multiple layers of oppression. It's being Black. First and foremost, I'm Black. Second, I'm fat. Third, I'm a woman. Fourth, I'm a trans woman. Fifth, I'm disabled. It starts being layered, right? And yes, like it never ends. It never fucking ends. Like, so when I see a Black man get murdered or a brown person get murdered by the police, I say state, but like, let me go ahead and say by police. My heart just sinks. When I see a Black or a brown woman get murdered by the police, my heart sinks. When I see a trans woman or a trans man get murdered, my heart sinks double time. And then when I find out they were disabled, it's like, damn, hello to the person that was in San Diego that was having a seizure, y'all. He was having a seizure and they called the cops on him. And they shot him. That was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Oh, sorry, y'all. Sorry, got on the soapbox. Anybody else want to say something? Going once, going twice.
Thank you for bringing that up, Chella. And also we have to, consider a lot of trans women or men or whatever, whichever way you're going, are arrested simply because of that. And, the largest jail in the United States is right here in Los Angeles County. So, a lot of those people, the only reason they're there is because they're the other. Okay. So yeah, Chella, hang in there, girl.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for saying that. Anybody else have something to say? Hamid, you have something to say? Oh, somebody else was going to say something.
Yeah, sorry, Chella. Again, I just wanted to say thank you for just everything that you've shared with us today. But I also wanted to kind of call attention again to what you mentioned about just how joy is seen as a threat, right? And so like as we continue this fight for liberation, for, you know, just for simply existing, right? Is like, how do we unpack that joy as seen as a threat and allow people to simply exist, right? And so in our abolishment work, like how do we, you know, honor that joy and like change the narrative of it being seen as a threat so that people can just continue to exist and exist in without the fear of, you know, being killed by police or being persecuted by the state, right? But I did want to uplift that point in that is such a huge threat, especially Black joy, right? And so yeah, I just wanted to call attention to that and uplift that, because I think that's something that we definitely need to unpack as we continue this work.
That brings to mind two things that happened in Oakland, where a Karen did call cops on, like, I think at Lake Merritt, which is a predominantly Black and brown, like I don't think the area is Black and brown, but I think Black and brown people love to go to Lake Merritt. I don't know why, but that's where they love to go. And a Karen called the cops on them, and like, you know, like whatever. That was a few years ago. Now every Friday night from like 6 to 9, I think, there's this like Black joy dance thing that like when I went, my friend was like, come on, come through. I didn't go because COVID being real, and because I'm disabled, and I don't want to, you know, but like that. And then like also finding out that the day before that, Thursdays, queer and trans people of color do a Vogue thing there, like a ball. And so like just thinking about those two things, those are like those are very resilient things. I think yeah, I think those things are just, yeah, I just want to acknowledge that. Like two things were birthed out of like a horrible situation, you know? Okay, anybody else, anything else to say last minute?
Just real quickly, join us next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. That's our second Tuesday the webinar, and that's going to be on the war on youth. We've been trying to, you know, figure out how do we go back in person, but with the Delta variant now raging, so I think we're probably going to have to hold off on that, because our goal is to try to reach out and see if we can get some technology or some tech support from folks, that maybe, because we can maintain both the in-person and the video presence as well, because, you know, we've been able to really make some connections, build community on an international level. I mean, just on the first Tuesday, Chela was able to invite folks from the trans activists from Saudi Arabia, from several other parts of the world. So how are we doing this collective learning and knowledge exchange? So hopefully, keeping fingers crossed, this too shall pass and we will be seeing each other in person. But until then, we're going to continue on this every Tuesday, Zoom, 6 o'clock.
And I do have an announcement. I know I usually say I'll send the flyer, but I really will, because I have the flyer ready. But there's a virtual show coming up. It's virtual. So that means all you got to do is tune into Zoom, and it's going to be fun. It is a fundraiser for trans, queer, and Black folks. But it's going to be fun. We're going to have some DJs. We having my band play. We having some artists, like all kinds of artists. So tune in. It's going to be the 13th, Friday the 13th, actually. I didn't plan it, but that's lit. I think that's lit. Friday the 13th, for your horror movie fanatics, come through. I will send it. Yeah. And if you're on my Instagram, you can follow it. You'll see it post up soon. But yeah, it's at 7 o'clock, Friday the 13th, in less than 2 weeks. All right, you guys, thank y'all for joining. Please come back to the webinar for the War on Youth. And yeah, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Steve. Fourth Amendment, whoever you is, thank you for joining. This has been lit. Thank y'all for having this conversation with us. Everybody's gone.
Thank you, Chella. Much.
Bye, bye, bye.
All righty. Have a good night.